Hey there, what's happening? It is your muscle building coach, Lee Hayward, back again with another Ask Lee video Q&A. And today we've got a question from Paul. And Paul writes, says, I've been following your stuff for a few years. I'm 30 years old, 6'1", 187 pounds with 13% body fat. And I would like to compete in Physique later this year in about 6 months' time. My goal is to be 200 pounds at 4% body fat on stage. And then he goes on to ask how is the best way to go about training and dieting, bulking, cutting, all that kind of stuff in order to get to his goal of 200 pounds on stage. And I think we need to reevaluate things. It's time for a reality check because the goal you have set for yourself, while it's a very ambitious goal, and I applaud you for wanting to push yourself and to compete, it's an unrealistic goal for such a short period of time. And I'm going to break the numbers down for you, Paul, so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm referring to. You're currently 187 pounds at 13% body fat. That means you have 162 pounds of lean mass and 24 pounds of fat mass. Your goal is to be 200 pounds at 4% body fat, which is 192 pounds of lean mass and 8 pounds of fat mass. So you're asking, how can you go about gaining 30 pounds of lean, contest-ripped muscle and simultaneously lose 16 pounds of body fat in 6 months? And you know what? That is not a possible goal for a natural competitor. I mean, maybe, and this is a big maybe, if you were willing to take every possible muscle enhancing and fat burning drug out there, I mean, I don't even know if it's possible, but if you were to pump yourself full of drugs coming out your yin yang, maybe you would be able to reach this goal, and even then it would be a stretch. But for a natural competitor, you're not going to gain that much muscle and lose that much fat in such a short period of time. I mean, that there is a goal for like years down the road. It's not a goal that you're going to do in a matter of months. So we kind of need to do a little reality check as to what is a realistic goal for your first competition. And a lot of people have this misconception of how big they need to be on stage, especially first-time competitors. A lot of people think they should be or have to be bigger than they really do. And what I suggest you do is go check out some local competitions, or at least talk to some local competitors, people with preferably several shows under their belt, so you're talking to some seasoned competitors. And I bet you will be blown away by just how light a lot of these guys actually weigh in when it comes time for the contest day. I mean, when they step on stage, they are a heck of a lot lighter than you would probably think. And the reason for this is because a leaner and harder competitor is very often going to beat a bigger, smoother competitor. I mean, it's very rare that you will see it happen the other way around, especially at the lower level shows. I mean, more often than not, the most ripped guy on stage is also going to win the show. That's generally the way it happens. And the only time that the biggest guy is going to win the show is if the biggest guy also happens to be the most ripped guy. That's when he's going to win the show. But with very few exceptions, the leanest and the best conditioned competitor is usually the guy who walks away with first place. So if you want to do your best and to look your best on stage, then you need to focus on getting as lean and conditioned as possible and not have this skewed idea of thinking you have to be big. I mean, 200 pounds is huge, especially for a physique competitor. There are very few physique guys that weigh in at 200 pounds or more. And to kind of give you an example of this, I was recently talking to a friend of mine, Jason Jones, and he trains at the same gym that I do. And he competed in Physique just this past fall. And he's about the same height that you are, Paul. And he weighed in at 175 pounds. And he looked fantastic at that weight. He was in great condition, and he placed in the top 3 in his class. So I think that is a more realistic goal for you. That's something that you can kind of shoot for, is somewhere in that 175 pound range. I mean, it may actually be lighter, but don't get hung up on the number. Just focus on your conditioning. Just focus on what you look like in the mirror. Don't get hung up on the scale. In fact, the only time you should use the scale is to know if you're moving in the right direction. I mean, as long as you're getting lighter, then chances are you're also getting leaner and harder and better conditioned. when it comes to bodybuilding competition, very often lighter is better. Very rare does it work the other way around. So I think we just kind of need to reevaluate your perspective and your goal for this competition. Now, with that being said, you still have 6 months' time. So I wouldn't recommend starting a super strict pre-contest diet just yet. You can still focus on, I guess, what we would refer to as a clean bulking program for the next couple months. And for this, you would be in a caloric surplus, but still focusing on eating clean, wholesome foods, clean, natural foods, and doing regular cardio, all that kind of stuff, so that you make lean gains leading up to your show. And then at the 4-month out mark, you can transition over into a strict pre-contest fat loss diet, where you're going to be in a caloric deficit, bump up the cardio even more, and just zone in on losing as much body fat as physically possible. So if you need some help with this, with the whole pre-contest program, I actually have a guide that you can check out. It's called Your First Bodybuilding Competition, and it's a program that I put together for first-time competitors that outlines all the nitty-gritty details of how to go about getting ready for a competition. Now, granted, this is geared towards bodybuilding, but the same principles apply for a physique competitor as well. I mean, the only real difference between bodybuilding and physique is what you do on stage. The training, the diet, the cardio, all that kind of stuff is pretty much the same. It's just that a physique competitor tends to be a longer, leaner competitor, and a bodybuilder tends to be a shorter, stockier competitor. But the training that you're going to go through to get in contest shape is the same in either case. So if you want to check that out, I have a link to it in the description below. It's called Your First Bodybuilding Competition. And like I say, that can help you in your pre-contest training. So hopefully this video helps, Paul. And like I say, if you go ahead with the show, please, I would love to see some progress pictures and some contest pictures. So keep me updated with how things go. And stay tuned for some more future Ask Lee video Q&A coming your way. Take care. Over and out.